the Scene Place Theater. We have very special people in the house. Brandon Walker,
Hello.
artistic director. And we have Erin Cronican. I got it right?
You did. It was great.
You're the managing director.
Yes.
So,
great.
yeah, Danny, basically, I interviewed him when you were asking me how you guys met. I was like, wait a minute, how I met Danny? I cannot even recall. I mean, actors, I guess we just pluck together and we just keep coming together. And he's a man who takes the craft extremely seriously, as you guys know. Mm-hmm. He says, Sissy, you love the theater, you love the craft, and you got to sit down with those two.
Aw.
So thank you for coming. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
It's my honor, my pleasure. Let's talk about you guys, how you guys met, how you created this work together, please.
Are you throwing it at me?
Oh, yeah. Through you, Brandon.
Yeah.
Okay, we met at a fundraiser for tsunami relief
Oh, that's interesting.
in San Diego, 2003?
No, 2005.
2005.
Early
Okay.
2005, yeah.
I was doing a scene from Romeo and Juliet, and you were?
Oh, it was a benefit, so there were lots of different things that were being done. I was singing Sing for Your Supper with two other really well-known singers in San Diego at the time as part of the benefit.
There you go. It was really great.
Uh-huh. You hit it off immediately.
We hit it off immediately. She came up to talk to me right after I finished the scene.
I was fangirling a little bit.
She was fangirling.
Just a little bit.
Okay, that's all good.
And yeah, then I don't know that we spoke much for a little while after that, but I assisted her at the Actors Alliance of San Diego. She was doing all of the marketing for a short play festival, and I was her assistant. And then she moved to New York, and then I kept on in San Diego, and I studied there with a guy named Fran Girk, and I came here to study with his teacher, David Gideon, who Danny also studies with now, Danny O'Shea. And that is how I got here. Shortly thereafter, I was looking for a kind of organic, really intense kind of work.
We're using the word intense because we're getting a
There you
lot of
go.
it. Yeah, it's intensity. It's about intensity and love and fire.
Yeah.
Correct?
And I wasn't seeing a lot of it in what I was seeing. I wasn't seeing a lot of ensemble-driven work in what I was seeing in New York. And I was talking to Erin, and eventually we decided that if we wanted the work that we wanted to do, we were going to have to create it. So that is how the Seeing Place came
What's
about.
the work that you wanted to do? What was like when you came to New York? You said, "Okay, this is the kind of work that I want to be doing."
Well, I was very deluded when I came to New York.
Okay.
I really.
I wanna hear it.
yeah,
I wanna hear details.
There was a company in San Diego called New Village Arts, and New Village Arts was. It was so wonderful to get to see their work because you actually got to see the story, and nothing was particularly blocked. There were elements of staging, but things were lived. And they spent a long time in rehearsal making sure that that happened. When I did my first show with them, I, on opening night, said, well, I don't know if the show's going to happen tonight, but it's been really fun rehearsing it.
Sure.
I really didn't know what to expect because I was so used to blocking and I was so used to impressive performance, and that's not what they did. And I really fell in love with their work. The first show I saw was a year or so prior to that. It was A Lie of the Mind, Sam Shepard's play. And it was a very curious response that I had to it because I wasn't impressed at all. And I was used to being impressed by the theater. But I was also not used to believing what I was watching. And I
Yeah.
believed everything from beginning to
It
end.
seems like you're my twin because I have similar feelings. When I go to the theater and I said to me, why is it so hard to see great performances? What do you think that is? Are we just out of our minds, or we're too passionate, or maybe we're tough to please? What is this? Why is it so hard,
I don't think it's hard to see great performances. You just only see one or two in any given play.
Sure.
You don't see a bunch of people working together much of the time.
Right.
So yeah, I go to the theater and you
As
see
much as
impressive
you can.
production values, you see impressive direction, you see, but it's not about the actors much of the time nowadays. So you almost can't expect that, and that's why we created a theater company, to have a place where it's a group storytelling, where you get the story, And I'm not saying we sacrifice the behavior for the story, because that's what most people mean when they say, oh, we're focused on the storytelling. No, we're focused on the behavioral storytelling and allowing somebody to live through something. And then actually having that express what is going on with all of us in society today.
Yeah. There's quite a few theater companies in New York. I like to go to the Public. I love the Public. I love what they do. Or I go to the Actors Studio, trying to mix it up as much as I can. But obviously, you want to bring attention to all the productions that are taking place. Because sometimes the media, they neglect. They pay a lot of attention. Well, all the times. Man. It is so hard. I mean, it's like you want the media to come and see the work and see what's going on. There's a lot of great things going on in New York, and most of the times they just get a little bit overlooked.
Well, I was talking to one of the writers at the New York Times about that very thing, and he was saying that that we were doing a production of Othello, and he said, you're doing all the right things and communicating your shows to us and exciting us about it, but look, I already have promoted and talked about 5 productions of Othello this year, and we can't come to a 6th. Our readership won't allow it, our editors won't allow it, so even if your production is really, really delightful, we don't have enough room. There's just not enough capacity for us to cover you. And that's what is really challenging for a lot of small theater companies.
Yeah. And then beyond that, I mean, we live in a culture right now in New York where a few years ago we did a production of Closer by Patrick Marber.
Done quite a few productions in Great Place, yes.
I wrote to several people in the press trying to get them to come, and many people responded saying, oh, well, no, we're not going to come see your off-Broadway revival. We saw the Broadway production and hated it. There's no possibility of your production being any better.
Just like that.
Yeah, and the Broadway production was directed by Patrick Marber, so of course that was going to be better, and I'm just not interested in seeing the play. So this is a society where we don't believe in the power of actors to any degree.
Yeah, but it's like media, and obviously there's a lot of factors in that equation. I guess there's a lot of actors, there's a lot of theater companies, there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
And how do we make the attention? How do we bring the media? How do we bring, that's the key, because I see a lot of actors, friends that I have, members, not members in the studio, they're always doing great work. But the problem is that they don't have, obviously, media
but that's our
coverage.
dilemma, right? Not only your actor friends, I'm sure this is what they're dealing with as well, but our dilemma, the Seeing Place, for the last now 7 years, is that we don't have a crazy gimmick. I mean, outside of the fact that we live everything fresh every night and it's different night to night, but everybody seems to believe that they do that, whether or not they do that. So that if we don't have some really crazy angle or some like dance portion of what we're doing, or some really avant-garde thing that we're doing, it's just not something that the community in New York is interested in seeing. Not the larger community, but the press community.
Right, I got invited maybe 3 years ago to one of those Broadway musicals, and it was like what they call a press day, and the press was invited to go in and see the work. This woman, Audra McDonald, yeah, beautiful, down-to-earth lady. But it was very interesting to see all these journalists and all these people. Obviously, they're attracted to all these big stars, but my question was to them, I said, how do we bring attention to the other side? There's a lot of talented people in New York that they are not getting the attention they deserve. So
well, that's what's so great about having you and what you're doing here, because you're filling in the gaps for what's missing, I think, in New York. And I think it's a problem in any city. There's just not enough coverage. There's not enough money for arts coverage. So it's systemic. I don't think it's an issue of what people want. It's just systemic. Yeah.
Right, but you make the room, you make the time too, because it's like bottom line is, if you, like when people, they want to make a movie, listen, I have a story, I have a line story, this is my idea, I have a cast, Let's do it. I want to do a play. Listen, I want to do a Hamlet. I have this actor, this actor. Like, you come up with the ideas and you bring everybody together. But at the end of the day, we need to be people that need to see the work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
But
you can.
that's you. You're a person that needs to see the work, and that's very respectable and to be respected. I think a large majority of the press, especially in New York, but really worldwide to a large degree, are not the kind of press that are like Kenneth Tynan, if anybody watching knows who that is, who really in England found Look Back in Anger, set out to really find an audience for the plays that he was watching. That was what his goal was as a reviewer. It wasn't to come necessarily and criticize and say, well, I liked this and I didn't like this. It was to find who was the appropriate audience for what I'm seeing. And he really sought things out. And we got a larger community, especially of bloggers and all sorts of other people that are more interested in the fame element, in the getting swept up in celebrity. And really, that is the only thing that definitively sells tickets right now in our culture. So that makes sense as well. You're going to go where the money is pouring in because that's where audiences care to go right now as well. That's the only factor that brings audiences into shows right now.
And it's crazy, right? Back in the days of the Living Theater, I remember I was so close to interview this lady, but then she passed away. Because I interviewed John Strasberg about 4 years ago. He said, you gotta sit down with that woman. You guys have that crazy energy. He said it right here. And I said, why do we don't have more media coming to you guys? How come it's like, why is so difficult? You know, I'm sorry that I'm opening up the interview this way, but it's frustrating for me because you see the talent, you see the work, the kind of productions that you guys are putting out there is outstanding, and everybody has to come and see it. Everybody should come and see and support it, right? What's the biggest challenge?
Money.
Money.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Money. Yeah, for any artist, any small theater company, because especially today, we are used to now consuming art and not paying for it. Like, it's almost like it's a public right. And it is a public right, but in the olden days, let's say, in other communities, it's subsidized by our taxes in the government. So the government is making sure that art stays present and it's affordable for everybody. And
in many other countries too, not just in the olden days. That's sort of the problem with our system at present.
So now we, as a small theater company, year after year, if people are like, are you fundraising again? We said, yes, every year,
of course.
every moment. And it's and we are grasping at the funds that all of the other small companies and the mid-sized companies and the larger companies are going for. So we're all going into that same pool, and that pool of money is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So we have to be innovative.
Right,
you know?
right.
Yeah.
I was addressing that. I was interviewing when I went to Denmark. That was in December. I interviewed the artistic director of the Hamlet scene. Lars, great guy, but it was kind of overwhelming because I went to the castle and we got the permission to go in and shoot, and it was very nice, you know. But I sit down with the man, and I remember that I talked to him off camera. I asked him why it's so hard for actors, and forget about big companies, because he had a big company. He got productions coming from all over the world to do Shakespeare. So they have they just bring the companies in. They bring them from London and bring, I don't know, Jude Law, Kenneth Branagh. They just keep, obviously they have the money, they have the budget to do such a thing. But how do we bring more attention to the smaller groups? And he said it's a challenge. It's a challenge not only in the U.S., it's a challenge here in Denmark. It's a challenge in England. It's a challenge everywhere because we're pretty much wrapped up in the big names. And
yeah, well,
you know,
with that said, the managing director of Roundabout Theater Company was giving a talk. When was this? Maybe and Manhattan Theater Club, both of them, and they were talking about how this was about a year ago. About how I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was something like 75% to 85% of an annual budget in England is covered by the government of a theater company of that size, roundabout Manhattan Theater Club.
Right.
Right. Here, less than 1%.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Same size theaters.
Region, just to even hear it.
Yeah.
Only 1%.
Less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
And that includes all local, state, governmental funding.
You guys keep yourself busy,
Yeah.
are you?
Right.
There's no kidding.
Yeah.
You got something in your mind, Erin. Say it.
I always have something on my mind. It
I know
never
you do. You're
stops.
always thinking. There's
No,
always a
it's just
thinking process.
I mean,
Tell me.
thinking about what the kind of dirty word of fundraising and why it's so difficult for people. And one of the ways that we're trying to address that challenge is to make fundraising more than let me take your money and then you'll get great art, which is valuable in itself, but maybe we can involve our audiences more and find innovative ways to involve them that, yes, involves that funding that we might get from them, but the value that we give back being more than just that art. And with getting back to your initial question about how the scene place started, well, the scene place as a phrase is actually the Greek translation of the word for theater. And it means the place that we go to understand ourselves.
Right.
So if we can combine our fundraising efforts with that mission of making sure that the art that they see with us is coupled with them really having a conversation about the art that they're seeing, then that makes their money go a lot further and really involves them. And another thing too, I'm really trying to help our donors know that they're actually creators as well. So we are the actors who are creating the art, but by them funding us, they're creators too. And I think that's really important in our society. There's a real divide. People think, oh, I'm a money person, I'm not creative. But actually, you can choose where your money's gonna go, and that is creative.
Sure, bring in, the audience and to an open process perhaps.
Yep.
Right, to a certain degree.
Well, one of the things that we do is at the end of, so we bow at the end of the show, we leave the stage, and rather than going back to the dressing rooms, we go into the lobby and we greet all of our patrons and have a conversation with them about what they saw. And it's really great because a certain kind of person is courageous enough to stay by the stage door and wait, but most patrons aren't like that. And then what do? They go and they go to the subway, they get in their cars, and they don't get to talk about what they've seen and how it impacts their life. But if the artists are out there hungry for that feedback, and the audience is hungry as well, and our audiences stay around for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So it's like a talk back every single night with our group.
It's a feeding process. It's a back and forth, back and forth. What about documenting your work? I mean, have you think about that, like doing a documentary? To give you an example of what you guys doing?
We're limited.
Yeah, we're very limited by Actors Equity within a showcase code.
Yeah, but in terms, I'm not talking about in terms of like talking a little bit about the process itself, a little bit of discovery, the process, the actors coming together, rehearsing, working, giving their approach.
It's just that we're unable to document on video a lot of what we, because of the union rules, the actors, rightfully so, need to be compensated for any time that their intellectual property is on camera, right?
Right.
So what we try to do to fill in the gaps there is we have a blog that Brandon writes in, our ensemble writes in, and that way we can kind of try to document from that aspect, and then all of our work on social media as well. So we have a special Facebook group for all of our donors, and we show a lot of behind-the-scenes photos and testimonials, and like we have a series called the Ensemble Diaries, where people talk about what's going on to try to fill in the gaps. Yeah, yeah.
The reason why I'm telling you, because it's always interesting. People, we tend to be a little bit, obviously actors' rules and equity, you can't, literally, everything is very strict, but it's interesting. Sometimes I guess it's, I don't want to use the word bullshit, but it's just, we want to bring the audience to the theater. We want to bring audiences. We want to bring more attention to what we do. How do we do it? Obviously, we can talk, we can mingle right after the performances, but how do we make that connection? I think, it's just working together, getting interviews, maybe setting interviews with the actors off stage. Just doing stuff that is gonna, it's always, people are interested in the process. They love the process. They love to hear about it. They love to read about it. They do. They do. You know, and it's I guess, I don't know, even the actor studio is very strict. You know, when they have a camera there, it's like, only when they do the inside of the actor studio downtown with James Lipton and all of that. Help me, Lord. I'm not picking on Mr. Lipton. He does whatever he does. But what I'm saying is that, like, you know, like real people talking, actors, like we talking now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, West Diner, let's say that we sit down and say, what the hell, let's go for a date and just talk about the work. What are we working on? Hamlet. Okay, we're doing Closer. Let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
And bring a camera in so you can document your fucking work. Excuse me, I'm using the F word. But sometimes I feel that it's too much. It's like a straitjacket. You know, everything is going to be this way, it's going to be that way, because otherwise
Yeah.
you don't make it. You know, it's like, why on earth we're not like, I would do anything to just see. Have you seen the documentary about Brando, Listen to Me?
Yeah.
Okay. He even says it over there. But I would love to see a documentary about him back in the day when he was running his ass off and jumping from one place to the next. And like, I would love to have somebody just grab a camera, have the vision to sit down with him in the park, in Times Square, just in the bus station, hopefully, and the F train. And just have the camera with Brandon and talking about this.
Yeah.
You literally have to make it big to get that attention. So then everybody wants you, and everybody wants to do documentaries about you. You know, I think it's I don't know, it's limited, and I'm just tired. You know, when I see New York One, I see the work, and I see on stage, and it's so good stuff going on. But you know, you want to see like real actors in their craft, and you want to bring the camera and the interviewer. And I'm not talking about myself, anybody else, but bring a little bit about the camera to the process.
Yeah.
To document the process, because this is your process, it's your work, it's your theater company, and that's priceless.
Yeah.
Priceless. And I tell you this much, okay? I know it's about rules and equity and all that, but it's needed to get cameras in, to sit down one day and go to a diner, something unofficial.
Yeah, well, that kind of stuff can absolutely be done. It's a matter of just the actors actually creating their work, doing that can't be covered unless you're on a higher contract or that you're paying them for their time. But absolutely that developmental stuff, how people think about things and interviewing them.
And just engaging our community here outside of necessarily a camera is something that we've really been talking a lot about this year, and having opportunities for our audiences to see not only our final product, but also how we get there.
Sure.
And that's something that we're really setting out to work with this year. So we'll definitely take all of your suggestions into account
Everybody's
as
bringing,
well.
I don't care if it's Bernie Sanders, whoever it is, and I'm a Democrat, I'll go for my boy Sanders, okay? I said it. It's very interesting when you see, whether it's politicians or actors or movie stars or writers, when you see them when the cameras are off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, exquisite, interesting, and powerful to see when the cameras are off. Because everybody comes relaxed and the true self comes out, literally. And it has a lot of, I guess, great value in terms of documentaries, but it's interesting to see actors. And I want to see a little more of theater companies taking that step. Not talking about New York One, I'm talking about doing interviews for the press. I mean, doing like documenting the work, bringing, because you want people to see what you do.
Absolutely. And I think that where it comes into, where we come into difficulty with that, and I imagine that we're not the only people in the world that have this difficulty that run a theater company, is that even in setting up this interview, we went through a couple of different dates in trying to make that happen. Because we don't just run a theater company, we have our lives on top of that. And then so much of our thinking behind this has been like sort of the Field of Dreams sort of thinking of like, if you build it, they will come, you know? And you know, now we're 7 years into it, and many people have come, but that in and of itself is not a fully working model since Field of Dreams. So
Hey, it's a work in progress.
there you go.
Yeah.
So like it
Is
takes
a-
a lot of time just to set up those kinds of interviews, to reach out and find people, and they're constantly changing. So you'll get a whole like group of press, and then you're talking to them, and then 6 months later it's a whole new group.
I know, but I tell
Yeah.
you this much: it's once again, it's a lot that can be done when you really think about it. I'm collaborating with a kid. His name is Esteban. He's a great cinematographer, and we collaborate. We go, we travel. I've done interviews in Denmark, in Sweden. I'm like going with this kid. He's only 26, and he's like, he's ready to go. He's always coming willing with his skills. He says, Sissy, let's do this. Let's do an interview. Let's go. Let's explore. You want to do stuff like that, and it's such a liberating thing because I don't know much about editing, but God knows that I appreciate whoever comes in and says, Sissy, let's do this. You know, and I think with the work, there's a lot of theater companies out there. There's a lot of actors and a lot of directors. So how do we bring more attention to what we do? That's the key. And look, the credits are rolling. And I haven't even started my conversation. And Melanie Brown, you're going home. Shame on you, baby. Keep yourself in touch. Don't disappear. This is an open studio, so you see a lot of people coming in. I'm sorry that I'm a little distracted, but hey, what the hell? It happens. I was checking the website and all the work and all the places. You guys, I mean, this is incredible what you guys do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's incredible, incredible. Just casting the actors, how does it work? People want to audition for you guys, what do they do?
They audition for the company, and
Okay.
we bring them into our ensemble. And
Okay.
then from that ensemble, we pick the plays, and we also audition within that ensemble for the plays.
And that's one of the things that makes us really different is that we're a year-round ensemble. So the actors who work with us all throughout the year. We're training together, they're learning together, and we're training them also on how to be producers. So it's so they learn to be full-rounded theater makers.
Okay, that's interesting. That's powerful, too.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get together every Monday night, and we're reading a play, or we're doing a workshop, and then sometimes outside of that as well, and then we have rehearsals. And
Do you go
it's
to
really
the
great.
theater much? Do you go out there and see the
Try
work?
to see it as much as we can. Yeah.
What kind of work turns you on? Tell me. Talk to me. Let's talk turkey.
What kind of work?
Good work.
Yeah, good work.
Good work.
Good work, guys. What's good work for
mean,
you guys? I mean,
Really, like outside of a couple of, I've seen a few shows in this town that have really turned me on. It's been a while since I've been able to go with enough frequency to see shows that really turn me on like that. But outside of those couple of times, I don't see theater much of the time that excites me. And it's not because it's not good. It is. But I can't pay attention, or there's one performance that's outstanding, but then the rest of the play, people don't seem to be talking to one another. Or the simple reality of people having tea never happens. They're pretending to have tea while they're doing whatever. You know, and so I don't know. When I go to Chicago, I can see 22 shows and love them all. When I go to theater in New York, I see individual performances that I like, and that's about as best as I can hope for most of the time.
I think the collective effort is what makes something really good work or great work, where I get a sense of why the company has opted to put this show on right now, and why. So we in our company always say, why this play right now, and why the singing place? Why should we be doing this? So that we can explain to an audience through our work why they came to see our iteration of this Sam Shepard piece, or this Anton Chekhov piece, or this Marcia Norman piece, versus someone else's. And that's the beauty of the art and theater, that it's meant to be done by multiple artists. And when I can sense that a group is taking that on, I feel really well taken care of as an audience member. And it's hard to put your finger on, but I know it when I see it.
yeah.
So outside of that, when I choose to go to the theater and spend money on it, so I'm seeing shows that aren't just things we can get into because we're who we are, I really go for the spectacle much of the time, because that is the draw. And so I may as well go to see that. I mean, I would go see, if it were still, I don't know if it's still playing, Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime.
It is. It's closing later this year, September. But,
There you go. I would go to see that, not because I'm expecting anything from the actors, because I'm expecting something from the production and that story, right? And I would probably opt to go see something like that, or even Lion King over many shows.
Well, you know what? I want to point
because
something
of
out
those
though really
things,
quickly.
yeah.
Is that that's not because the performances aren't great. It's because that's what the marketing is telling us is going to be great.
Right.
Yeah.
That's to
That's
pull
the
that back
difference.
around, right? So that
That's the
we don't want to
difference.
malign the idea of these great actors, but they're telling us that it's the spectacle
Yeah.
of Curious Incident. It's going to draw us there, and what makes it different, right?
Yeah, and so when I frequently go see shows and I'm always disappointed with the acting, then if I'm going to go and spend the money, then I want to see the spectacle.
You're right.
Absolutely, because that's what there is to be enjoyed there.
Sure. But you pick your with the work. You like, you're tough to please. I like to see work. I like to have, like you said, it's got to be an experience.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
It's got to be an experience. It's got to happen. Like Mike Nico said it in his documentary. He said it. I remember clearly when I went to see The Streetcar Named Desire. I remembered the audience. We couldn't move. The magic, it was so powerful that every moment. Thank you for shutting the door. That helps. Everything was so powerful because everything was found on stage. Every minute was found, not put, not staged. No, it was found. The behavior has to be found. Lee Grant says it all the time when she used to come to the studio. Behavior's got to be found. You got to find the behavior. Don't act on it. Just find it. Right? That he said it, that it was like beautiful work because he was, everybody in the cast, Jessica Tandy, everybody was sublime, but he said it was happening.
yeah,
And that's the magic. How do we make it happen?
Yep.
yeah. And there are shows like that I'd like. I mean, I want to see Long Day's Journey into Night
Me
when
too.
it comes. I want to see.
Me too.
I wish I
wanna
could.
see that.
Yeah. I wish I could afford to see all of the shows that Gregory
I went to
Doran's
see
directing down at.
I went to see
BAM.
the Gloria Stefan musical. It's great. I'm not into musicals, but God, she was so good, that girl. She get out there on stage. She was Gloria. She looked like her. She sounds like her. She just, it's her on stage. Amazing. And I'm not into musicals myself. God help me. Sound of music, that's pretty much as far as I go. I'm not into musicals, and I shouldn't be. I shouldn't say it out loud because I get impressed tickets to go see musicals. I shouldn't say it, but my passion is actors, regardless of what they do. But bringing attention to what you guys do is something that we're going to keep doing. Maybe when Stefan comes around, we can do something off the studio with you guys.
Or we can bring in some other people for you
Or
to
we
meet.
can, you can guys can bring, but I want to see, get to know the actors, how we will bring attention to the ensemble, to the members, to the people.
That would be great.
Absolutely, yeah.
Keep building. We have to build. I'm not Donald Trump, and I'm building walls. But God knows that we have to build.
Yeah.
It takes work. It takes time and getting together. And Danny was very specific. He says, Sissy, you got to have them on the show. You have to have them on the show. I'm glad I did. We had a great time.
Yeah.
Sadly, we
yeah.
didn't cover as much as I wanted to, but
It was a great conversation that will never be duplicated.
Yeah.
You see?
It
You're
really won't
right.
be.
Yep. That's
And
what great theater is too, by the way.
Yes,
Yeah.
and please come and support the arts, man. Come. I understand that it's Batman and Robin and Superman and Rihanna and Britney Spears and I don't even know these people. I think these people, I'm flipping channels and I go, who are these people?
Yeah.
I have no idea. But what I know is that we need to bring attention to what's going on in New York. We have to bring attention to the theater, to the actors, to the scene, theater and company, and to all those actors who are bringing work and building art. Enough is enough with all that nonsense of big movie stars and all that. That's all great. Let's pay attention to what's going on here. Let's keep building together. Thank you for making the time. We had
You're
a great
welcome.
time.
Yeah,
we did.
nice to see you.
We
Thank
did.
you.
Thank you
We
so
did
much.
Randy intense, man. Whew. You like this? It's all about intensity. I see. Well, Gloria Messer, thank you. I want to thank all my audience. Please check us on Facebook. Come and see the show. See it. Place your comments. Do whatever you got to do. I know I'm a little bit unconventional. I know I'm a little crazy. I'm not Katie Couric. I'm not Barbara Walters. I'm not Oprah Winfrey. I am not them. All right? So with that being said, check us out. Check us out. Go to YouTube. Go to Facebook. See the work. Support the actors. And let's make it happen. See you guys next week. Thank you for watching. And that's a wrap. Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
We had a good time. Yeah.